The Proverbs 31 woman is the ultimate biblical archetype of a virtuous, loving wife and mother. Most Christian women strive to be a Proverbs 31 woman, but there can be a lot of confusion as far as what that looks like. So let's talk about that today as I prepare a simple meal for my family. On this evening, my husband was going to be leaving to go to RCIA, which is Rites of Christian Initiation for Adults, because he's becoming Catholic, which is something I'm very excited about. So it was just going to be me and the kids at home this evening, so I kept it simple for supper. Just a couple of spatchcocked chickens. I'm pouring some olive oil and a measuring cup here and just going to add some seasoning. You all know if you've been watching that I've been using a lot of paleo powder lately. I'm not like eating paleo exactly, but I just really like this paleo powder. It's a really good all-purpose seasoning. So prepping my chickens here, and then I'm going to roast them in the oven at 400 degrees, just like this, just like you see them, not covered or anything. So, it really only takes 5 minutes or so of prep to roast chickens. You gotta make sure they're thawed out, of course, and then wash, rinse them, cut them open, lay them out, and season and then roast. That's it. And then on this particular night, I was also sauteing some cabbage, making some carrots, and some sourdough biscuits. So, like I said, pretty simple meal. Didn't take that much prep work. So, let's chat as I cook. So, the secret to being a Proverbs 31 woman? Well, I think there are a few secrets, or maybe just a few things that you may not have noticed before, or maybe you've never heard before. One of the secrets is something that I just learned. And I consider myself like a very, very amateur wannabe Bible scholar. Like, I love reading the Bible. I've read the Bible many times. I am by no means a Bible scholar, but I like to pretend I am, and I just love to read the Bible. I love to read sacred scripture. But this was something that I had never read before, and I came across this in the study notes of a Bible that is new to me, but it's actually a very old Bible. It's a Douay-Rheims Haydock Bible with lots of notes and commentary. I was reading Proverbs 31, and I didn't know that Proverbs 31 was supposedly written by Solomon to praise his mother, Bathsheba. It said in this Bible in the study notes that it actually could have been written as a eulogy in praise of his mother. But I always thought it was the other way around. I thought that it was, a mother writing to her son, because that's what it says when you read the chapter. But anyway, I thought that was very interesting. And that leads me, to the first secret that I wanted to share with you about becoming a Proverbs 31 woman. And that is to look at your days and your life and your duties through your children's eyes. How do you want your children to remember you? This is something that I think about a lot, and it can be a very sweet thought, but it can also be a very sobering thought if I have not had a, particularly virtuous day, or if I've been short-tempered. Um, then that just kind of really hits home. Like, man, I don't want my kids to remember me this way. I don't want them to remember me being rushed, being focused on all these other things outside of our home or outside of caring for them, or, not being diligent in my duties. I want them to remember having a mom who just loved being a mom and loved being with them, loved being at home, and really loved caring for my family, rather than resenting my duties. I want them to remember me being joyful in the home. So that's the first secret. Got it. We are having Royale burgers for supper, which is basically just frying an egg and putting that on top of your cheeseburger. It's delicious. We look for any opportunity to use up extra eggs around here. I'm gonna give you a demo with my new caraway skillet. I am loving my new caraway set. You know, I've cooked almost exclusively with cast iron in my kitchen for years now, and I do love cast iron, but my husband has been telling me for a really long time, like, please get something non-stick, because he's not a fan of the cast iron, and he just thinks that I like create way too much work for myself when I cook cheesy sauces or eggs sometimes, and you know, they stick to the cast iron. It's so hard to clean. The problem is most non-stick cookware contains Teflon, and it only takes a couple of minutes of heating Teflon for it to reach like 500 degrees Fahrenheit and then start releasing toxic chemicals at a molecular level. That means that you can't see them, you can't smell them, you can't taste them, but they're there and you're ingesting them, breathing them in. And this has been shown to actually, you know, it can cause cancer, it can lower sperm counts, it can cause behavioral issues, all sorts of problems, just to use like cheap non-stick cookware. And to me, that's not worth it. However, with caraway, you get totally non-stick, non-toxic, like 100% non-toxic cookware because it's coated with ceramic. So I'm gonna give you a demo and show you how amazing it is. We've been using our caraway set for a couple of weeks now, and I've actually found myself using my cast iron a lot less. So I'm thinking about paring down with my massive cast iron collection since I'm using this and loving it so much, and it's just so easy to take care of. Since it's non-stick, I don't have to let it sit and soak in my sink. I've cooked so many things in my caraway set. I got the set. So I got the big Dutch oven, which you see here. This has chicken and dumplings sitting in it now that I made a little bit earlier. I got the big skillet, a smaller skillet, and then a smaller pot. So I got a set of 4. And that is the best way to do it when you get order anything from Caraway. Just look at the bundles, because just by bundling, you automatically are going to save 20% as opposed to if you bought an individual item. So like I said, I don't have to let these sit and soak. I literally just like take a washcloth and wipe them out, and then they're clean. And then I put them in the little like magnetic storage things that they came with. You really do want to be careful with ceramic not to like stack your pots and pans and skillets inside of each other, or stack other things inside of them, or even let them sit and soak in the sink where other dishes are sitting in them, because you don't want to damage the ceramic surface. You also don't want to use metal. So like all my metal, you know, utensils, like my metal whisks and spatulas and stuff like that, I'll save that for my cast iron. I'm not going to use that on my Caraway. Just like silicone and wood utensils, which I have a lot of both of those, so that works out great. You also don't need to use like a ton of oil or butter or fat or anything to grease these pans, and you definitely don't need to spray them. They're totally non-stick. I still do add maybe just like a little bit of butter or bacon grease, mostly for flavor, especially when I'm cooking something like eggs. And they distribute heat very well and very effectively, so you only have to cook over like low to medium heat. There's really no need to go up to high heat. So my skillet is feeling hot here. I don't know how I'm gonna do this with a baby, but he's been really fussy today because he's teething. He's 6 months old. He started teething. This is bacon grease, by the way. I'm just gonna add a little bacon grease to cook my eggs in. He got his first 2 teeth at 3 months old. And that is so much earlier than any of my other babies. Then he started army crawling at 4 months old, crawling at 5 months old, and now he's 6 months old, and he stands. Like, he pulls himself up and he will push our little baby walker around the house. This is unreal. I've never had a baby. This is like a 1-year-old. It feels like a 1-year-old, but he's 6 months old. It's just wild. So anyway, he's been teething. He's really fussy, and he just wants mommy to hold him. He does not want to be laid down. I guess I could get my carrier. I probably
we'll do that after I cook these eggs, get my carrier, and just go hang out outside. Okay, so my skillet's hot. Got my bacon grease in here, and like, I don't know if you can see, let me move the camera a little bit closer. This is really gonna be a challenge doing like one-handed egg cracking. I think I can do it. Look at that. So since I'm making these eggs for burgers, I don't want them over easy. I want the yolk cracked. So we don't want yolk like running everywhere. 4 for 4 so far with the one-handed egg crack, no shells. Okay, 5 for 5. I got one more egg to do. Let's see if I can get it here. There we go. Awesome. All right, now I gotta wash my hands. So this set that I got, it comes, everything came with lids too. So there is a lid that fits this skillet. It's not that one, it's a little bit bigger, but these are coming along nicely here. All right, now this is truly gonna be legendary if I get this like egg flip to work while holding a baby, but I'm left-handed, so I need to switch the baby. And we'll see if I can do this. Okay. Looking pretty good here. The eggs are sliding around. Let's see if I got it, guys. Oh, I got it. Look at that. Perfection. So I'll just cut these up and serve them on top of our cheeseburgers tonight. I'll put my link for Caraway in the description below this video, and I have a discount code too. It's Hopewell. If you use my code Hopewell, you will get 10% off your Caraway order. So like I said, if you get a bundle, then you're gonna save 20%, and then you can stack my code Hopewell on top of that for 30% savings, as opposed to just buying one item. So you definitely want to check them out. I'm loving everything I got from Caraway, and you're gonna be seeing a lot of my Caraway set in my future videos. Now, the second secret to becoming a Proverbs 31 is a big one. Like, this is huge. I mean, this is such a game changer. And it's to have hired help, like an entire staff of help that works in your home. You have a household staff. I think it's so easy to miss that part when we read about the Proverbs 31 woman. One of the first things that she does when she rises in the morning, this is a very wealthy woman. If it's true that this was written by Solomon about his mother, then this was a queen. So this was a royal woman, very wealthy, lots of resources at her disposal, and lots of help. She had maidens, she had maidservants. And most of you watching this probably don't. I know that I don't. I don't, at the moment, I don't have any hired help. So that's just something to remember. When we read about the Proverbs 31 woman and all of these things that she is doing in excellence, um, she's able to do that because she does have a lot of help. Whereas for you or I, that situation probably looks a little bit different. I'd love to go out and look at a field and invest and purchase it, as an investment. But who's going to watch my kids? I don't have anybody, banging down my door to babysit. Anyway, all jokes aside, most of us today, especially in the West, we, live in this society that has really promoted the nuclear family model. So it's like one woman doing all of the work in her home. She's the cook, she's the cleaner, she's the educator, she is the healthcare provider, she nurses the babies, she does it all, and it's a lot. So, before you go comparing yourself exactly to the Proverbs 31, just remember that. By the way, I'm showing you my new Caraway cookware here. We are completely obsessed. I hate to say it that my husband was right when he said that I needed to add something aside from just cast iron, into my cookware rotation, especially for reheating things now that we don't have a microwave. Anyway, back to our chat, back to point number 2 about having like a household staff. That definitely changes how your life looks. And, I'm at the point now where I have 5 children, and it is definitely getting challenging to juggle all the things, to educate them classically, it's pretty demanding to do that, to have them in extracurricular activities, to keep up with our house, with our farm. We have a lot of property here, and I'm finding that I need help. And I hate admitting that. And I have like a complex, I think. Like, I think I'm just a product of like, the American nuclear family vision that has been pushed on all of us, where I feel like there's something wrong with me if I have to ask for help. And then I feel guilty about the prospect of hiring help. But that's crazy because people for all of time have just had help, even if they weren't able to afford like a household staff or maidens or anything like that. People just lived a lot closer in community and lived intergenerationally. So there were just a lot more helping hands on deck. And so I need to get over my complex. And, maybe if you're watching this, maybe you do too. I don't know. Tell me in the comments. Do you also have that complex where you just feel like you can't ask for help? Or you like you just can't get those words out of your mouth, like, I need help. Like, I have reached the end of myself and what I can do in a 24-hour period, and now more hands are required on deck. So speaking of that, I guess I am overcoming my complex a little bit, because I did hire a house cleaner to come every other week while we are at homeschool co-op and do like some deep cleaning things. And this is something I've wanted to do for years, especially in seasons on the farm when it's really busy and there's a lot demanded of me outside, because I struggle letting things go inside the house. So I'm excited about that. We'll see how it goes, but I'm just hopeful that that takes a little bit off of my plate. Let's move on to our third secret of how, of becoming a Proverbs 31 woman. That is just embracing your station in life, embracing your place in life and in society wherever the Lord has you. I was talking to some ladies recently about how so many adults really could benefit from reading The City Mouse and the Country Mouse. If you've never read it, you have to go read it. Timmy and Johnny, right? The City Mouse and the Country Mouse. The moral of the little story is that different walks of life work for different people. Like, some people are just meant to be a country mouse and they prefer like a quiet country life. Some are meant to be a city mouse and they prefer the hustle and bustle of the city, and that's okay. It takes all kinds. For all of civilization, that's literally what like the word civilization means, is like the formation of cities. So there, for all of civilization, there have been cities, there have been agricultural, like rural areas. But I think we really do need to consider, not only where we live, but take into account our means and our place in society. So, is your family in the public eye, to where maybe you or your husband, has a position where, yeah, you're maybe in politics or something, where you get a lot of publicity, and what's required of you is going to be a lot different than what is required of somebody who is maybe living a really quiet country life, doesn't have any platform, social media, whatever, and doesn't desire that. What's required of those two women in those complete opposite scenarios is going to be very different. But I think that no matter what, we can look at the Proverbs 31 woman and apply the general principles of her living a virtuous life to our own lives, because that is how it opens up. Is It just says, a virtuous wife, or actually in the version that I just read, it said a valiant. The word was valiant, a valiant woman who can find. So the whole point, when we read about all the different qualities about the Proverbs 31 woman, is that she was a virtuous woman. She was a valiant, virtuous woman. And we can strive for virtue. Not we can strive for virtue. We must. We are called to strive to grow in virtue, no matter where we are in life. whether we are living a big, life in the public eye in the city or something, or a very quiet country mouse life. I like to think of myself as a country mouse. Like, I identify as a country mouse. And I kid you not, I forget all the time that I have this YouTube channel and that I do this online thing, because to me it's just so easy. Like, it just comes very natural to me to shoot these videos, get on here and talk, and it's no big deal to me at all. Like, I could truly, if I woke up tomorrow, it's not that I'm not grateful for these platforms, so please don't take me wrong. I'm so glad that you all are here. But, if I woke up tomorrow and found out that I was kicked off YouTube or something, it would be fine. Like, almost nothing would change for me. So, yeah, I totally identify as a country mouse. And then I'm always surprised when somebody has heard of my channel or something like that. And I'm like, oh, I guess I kind of live like a city mouse a little bit by putting all this stuff out there. But anyway, that was our third secret, is just considering your place in life, and that, we all have different demands on us. So what's going to be appropriate for one woman as far as like exactly how her day looks is going to be different than what's appropriate for the next, but we can all strive for virtue. Now let's move on to talk about something that, it's just been heavy on my mind and heart in the wake of Hurricane Helene. And as I'm doing this voiceover, I'm actually just got finished watching a press briefing from Governor DeSantis talking about Hurricane Milton that is set to hit Florida in a few days. And so what I wanted to talk about is preparedness. So this is something we read about when we read Proverbs 31, is that she was a prepared woman. She laughed at the days to come. She wasn't scared. She wasn't, scuttling around in fear or fear mongering. She was laughing. She was joyful because she just took the steps that she needed to take to prepare her household, make sure everything was in order, everybody was clothed, and she made a habit of extending her arms to the needy. So she was used to doing that, and she was prepared to do that. And so whatever came her way, she was ready. And I think that's such an important lesson for all of us right now. Not only right now, but I mean, look back at the last several years, what we've been through with the pandemic, with like the Maui fires, now Hurricane Helene. I don't know if I'm going to go into all of the, theories behind all of that. Well, I mean, I guess I will say, like, geoengineering is a thing. You can just Google it. Weather modification exists. Cloud seeding exists. These are all things. So, I don't know. There's a lot there. Who knows what we can expect over the next few years? We have an election coming up, a federal election coming up, and I think you all know where I stand on that. Like, I think it's a selection. I don't think it's an election. I think our president is selected for us, and I know that's probably going to make some of you so mad to hear me say that, because maybe you have your candidate that you just love, and that, you really think that this candidate is going to be like the American savior. Well, that's okay. You are welcome here. And I hope that, you won't be too mad at me, but if you are, I understand. That's what I think. I think that our candidates are selected for us. I know for a fact that our founding fathers were Freemasons. And so I don't know what the election is going to bring, but I do know that back when my third son had a post-vaccine seizure, this was around 2016, 2017, and I went down every rabbit hole known to man, I kind of just developed that laughing at the future attitude then, because I realized oh my goodness, there's just so much malice and so much going on that is beyond my control. Here's what I can do. I can focus on my family, do what I need to do to take care of us, make sure we're prepared, If there's something I can do in my community, great. If there's somebody specific that God puts in my path and I can help them, great. Other than that, like, this world is nuts. And I am not going to get too worked up about it. There's not much I can do about it besides do my best to like try to raise awesome kids, awesome people for future generations. But who knows? Who knows what is in store? I did way back when I went down all the rabbit holes. I learned about Project 2030, the New World Order, and all that. So they've given us their playbook. Like basically the next 6 years. It's 2024. The next 6 years are going to be wild, absolutely wild. I am totally expecting more, natural disasters, more wars, more illnesses that come out of nowhere and spread around, and the media gets all worked up doing its thing. Like, I'm expecting all the things, all of them. And I sleep like a baby at night. And that does not mean that I don't sympathize and empathize with these poor people in the Southeast and in different parts of our country who are being affected by the mass immigration crisis, and by all of these things. Like, I 100% sympathize, and I encourage everyone to donate if you can, show up where you can, do what you can, and be aware. But we cannot do so to the detriment of our own home, of the joy in our home, of the faith formation in our home, and of the preparedness in our home. A lot of people, I think maybe if they would take some of the energy that they spent going online and like learning about every detail of what the government may or may not be doing or planning for us next, and they took a little bit of that energy and put it into like putting together a 1-year food supply, or making sure that they had a water filtration system, or something like that, something focused and geared toward preparedness, we would be a lot better off. Like I said, I am not saying to put your head in the sand. I'm not saying not to vote. We vote. I'm definitely planning on voting. I love keeping up with the news, but we just can't lose sight of our duties in the home and what we need to do to be prepared for, maybe you're watching this and you have been affected by one of these things that I mentioned, but maybe you haven't. I can say that I really haven't. Yes, I worked in the hospital through COVID, but nobody in my family was seriously ill or affected negatively by that. We haven't been affected really badly by any natural disaster. But just because my family hasn't been personally hit really, really hard by one of these things yet, doesn't mean we won't. Especially, if you've read anything about like the Agenda 2030 and the New World Order, the next 6 years are going to be crazy, no matter what happens. And, it's likely that at some point, all of us are going to be affected by something, whether it's just our jobs being affected, or whether it's, power outages, natural disasters. Look at the people in Appalachia that were like the most prepared people in our country. And there's nothing that a lot of them could have done differently. However, the ones that were very prepared were the ones that made the biggest difference in those first few hours and days. After Helene hit, it was the community, it was the people who had taken the steps to be prepared to be able to extend their arms to the needy, like we read that the Proverbs 31 woman did. They were ready. They were ready to meet those needs. And I think all of us, there's such a big takeaway there. We all need to do that to the best of our ability. Maybe you're not in a position to spend a lot of money on like preparedness, but we can all do little things, even if it's just learning little skills or thinking these things through. All right, well, that wraps it up. Our discussion today on the secrets to becoming a Proverbs 31 while we cooked this delicious dinner on I don't remember, like Tuesday, Wednesday night, when it was just me and the babies on the farm, a very peaceful evening. So we have solved some world problems, we have chatted about a few secrets and different perspectives when looking at the Proverbs 31 woman archetype and trying to apply that to our own lives. And we've discussed preparedness, which is something that I really want to get back to making more content on for you guys because it is important to me. I actually um, started this channel making a lot more preparedness style content. But just to be honest, since I've had my fifth baby, you guys know this, like I have felt not good. Like my creative energy is just not what it usually is. My energy in general isn't what it usually is. I'm getting there. I'm getting better, but I've just taken a break from, a lot of that extra stuff, focusing on, all the preparedness stuff. But I definitely will be getting back to focusing on that as time goes on. This wraps up our chat for this week. Don't forget to check out the offer that Caraway has for Hopewell Heights subscribers in the description of this video. I will see you all next week.